We can discuss Brianni getting accused of cheating.
Yeah, that's fun. That's a fun topic. Because I mean there's not a lot to talk about because they followed the rules and that's the long and short of it. Like
I think people just have it out for those two.
Well,
I kind of wonder if it's a undercover, under the radar a ploy by people involved with the USPA to just fucking shit on a few of them.
That's some tinfoil hat stuff, but you might.
It's not that big of a stretch considering what they've just gone through.
Yeah, I mean they did go through a ton. I mean, I wasn't going to say I disagree, but it is a little bit. I wouldn't say it's like a big stretch, but it is reaching a little bit to say that this company is out for two people. But
I mean, the thing is though, like they could be after three, they could be after Goob, but what's Goob doing in powerlifting?
Right, he's doing nothing.
Nothing. So there's no reason to.
Yeah.
There's no reason to go after him. You know what I mean?
Because he's just like
not affecting the sport.
Yeah, he does bodybuilders and kind of just calls people out and sells supplements. That's all he really does. So how are you gonna try and affect his career other than just like smearing him? But
well, the only thing you're gonna do messing with him is probably fuck yourself up.
Yeah, he's pretty good at
pretty thorough.
Yeah, he knows his shit because he went to law school. So, but one thing I was talking to Desi about it because we both saw the story about the same time. A lot of people don't like Joe and Brianni and everyone in his circle because they do things differently. And I think they're mad because they're doing things differently and winning instead of being like, well, we should start adapting some of their stuff. They're just mad and they're like, no, they got to be cheating because that's the only way their stuff works. Like,
that's a fucking stretch too, though.
I mean, a little bit.
Like, I mean, I don't train people that way, but everything they do, like I can go back and find NSCA articles and PubMed articles and stuff like that that support, at least short term, that it's factual.
Right.
That works,
no, I mean,
and because I mean, honestly, what they do is it's not common for powerlifters to do it, but what they're doing is extremely common for sports training.
Right.
It's how I would train a football player or something like, or a basketball player or somebody like that. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they're not reinventing the wheel. They're just treating powerlifters like what they should be treated like an athlete.
Yeah. I think that's, I don't know. I just feel like there's this is coming from a post I saw he made too is something very similar to what I said. I can't remember the exact words. I can pull it up and just look at it. Because he said something about he was doing things differently and people didn't like it. He said that on multiple occasions. And it's kind of just one of those things like, yeah, I mean, he does do things a lot differently. And a lot of people in the sport disagree with him. So, I don't know. It's interesting to say the least. Let's see. Maybe it wasn't on recently. Maybe it was something he said a while ago. Yeah. A lot of people have said that too, that a later weigh-in, because that's what all this boils down to, right? Is the time she weighed in because she scheduled one instead of going when everybody else did. And that was so that she could make weight because she was too heavy to make weight at the time.
Yeah, and he actually posted the rules on that. As long as it happens within a 24-hour period, and as long as the meet director agrees to it, it's 100% within the rules.
Exactly, and that's the biggest thing is that they read the rule book. Like, they know the rules, like, forward and back. So they just use the rules to their advantage instead of being like, well, we gotta just make it work for this time, and if it doesn't happen, then they're like, no, well, if you're not at weight yet, we'll just schedule and go then. Like, and then it makes it harder to recomp too. It makes it harder. You have
shorter amount of time. Yeah.
You have less time before the competition to get rehydrated, to get refed, and like, I don't know. I think people just.
Well, that shit happened in football. I don't know if you remember. It's actually the 2013 Auburn team is the reason why this rule change happened. But used to, an offensive lineman could move on a pass play, could move 3 yards downfield and not be considered an ineligible receiver. Mm-hmm. So you could essentially run block a pass play up until about 3 yards before you were deemed ineligible and the play was null, basically.
Right.
After the 2013 Iron Bowl, which Auburn won because of a running game and because of the RPO, which is basically we're going to show a run and we're going to throw the ball. Nick Saban complained about it enough until they changed the rule to offensive linemen were only allowed 1 yard down the field on a pass play. So, like, it's one of those things, like, they were taking advantage of the rules. They wasn't breaking the rules. They were operating within them.
Right.
And then enough people just got upset about, or the right people got upset about them operating within the rules that they had to change them. But, like, it happens in other sports. But, like, as long as the rule's there,
right,
they're just going to find another rule to take advantage of.
Yeah. I mean,
that's like why? As long as there's a rule book, they're as long as you're operating within them, they're professionals. They're gonna read it and they're gonna find soft spots.
Yeah, any advantage that you can take. Like, but that's the thing.
I don't even think it's a soft spot. It just if it's just in the rules, it's just in the fucking rules. You know what I mean?
It's open to everybody. Anybody can read the rule book. Anybody can like request a weigh-in time. Like, obviously, like if everybody and their mother goes in and schedules a weigh-in time, they're probably going to start denying people. And you're like, well, we can only do...
The masses aren't doing this. Yeah. It's just case-by-case basis.
Right. And most people are going to be ready to lift during their weigh-in
If the American Pro didn't want to happen, they should have just said, as the meet director, it was as far as I interpret the rule, as the meet director, it was within your rights to say, we're not doing this. You have to show up for... This is when we're available. This is what we got to do. And then if the meet director says, sure, let's weigh in. Yeah. Fuck all. It's in the rule book. They can do that. Right. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, don't hate the player, hate the game. I mean, I've been out coached. I mean, I've told this before. Ron knew the rule book a little bit better than me one time. And that's the reason why, he took a victory away from my wife and gave it to one of his women. You know what I mean? So I'm not mad at him for it. I was impressed by it.
Right. It's just kind of like, man, I wish...
That was a nuance that I should have paid attention to, that Ron paid attention to, and that earned him the victory. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I ain't mad about it.
Sometimes it's just being smarter and not necessarily going out there and just busting your butt and being the strongest lifter of the day.
Yeah, since we're doing the show before the show, for the record, that rule was you can change, you have up to it's like 3 or 4 people out, you can change an attempt. Yeah. So, he waited for me and Sandy to turn in our attempt.
And saw
that Sandy was going to beat her if she didn't pull a certain number, and went and changed the attempt to something the girl, more power to her. She's a teammate now because, I use Ron for coaching when I'm in prep. Changed something so that to a lift that Monet had never touched before. It was like 30 pounds heavier than she ever lifted. And she hit it.
Right. He was like, you either get this or you lose.
Yeah. I mean, but this is what we have to beat Sandy, and you'll either pull it or you'll get beat. Yeah. But he was smart enough to make that call. I can't hate him for it. Right. Like I said, I was fucking impressed. You know what I mean? Like that made me start paying attention to a part of coaching that I hadn't paid attention to. Right. Only thing I was worried about before rule-wise was the lift standards, and then we're going to go out and do the best we can. I was playing checkers and had not yet started playing chess. Right. Well, now we play chess. Right. It is what it is. You win some and you lose some. Just is what it is.
Was that USPA or USAPL?
It was, yeah. USPA, it was Queens of the Beach last year.
So is it the same with WRPF? Do you know?
I don't know.
Because that's
I need to find that
typically where we...
I have not been in a situation in WRPF that...
required that sort of calling.
And then the last USPA meet I did was with you last November, and you were so far ahead that we wouldn't ever going to have to worry about that either.
Yeah, I was my bench, which is generally what wins me the day.
And then Steve, and again, well, it may have been Steve or Dave I coached in the USPA meet last. Yeah. But again, they're either by themselves or blowing away everybody so bad that those type rules don't
matter. Yeah, they're just not relevant to the situation. So it's like, why even ask? Yeah. It would be good to know, though. Probably, honestly, should just get the rule book and read it. Yeah. Long story short, with the show before the show, read your rule books. Like, download the rule book and read it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
just to get a better understanding. It's better to know than to not know and go up there and be like, hey, what happened? Why did this person beat me? It's like, well, because they read the rules and you didn't.
Like I said, Ron knew the rules better than I did, and it
won.
Yep, he won. So,
well,
I was not mad about it. I don't understand people getting mad about shit like that. honest.
Well, people get mad about a lot of stuff that doesn't make a lot of sense. Like,
I'm
going to lean towards the subject for the episode. We'll go ahead and finish
the
off
slide
this.
rule in college football. That was because of my quarterback at Pittsburgh. Now, Kenny Pickett, when he was at Pittsburgh, he was Pittsburgh, the college.
Mm-hmm.
He got drafted to Pittsburgh Steelers too, so he plays in the same stadium he played in. When he was in college. But he faked a slide and ran in for a touchdown. And they came back and said, well, that's after the season was over, they came back and said, that's dangerous for a quarterback to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't fake a slide anymore. Now it's I don't remember if it's unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, but it's pretty egregious penalty, like 15-yard penalty for a quarterback faking a slide now.
I feel like you would just...
I don't understand why that's any different than a juke.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a little weird.
But
I'm thinking about, like, how are they faking the slide? Like, are they like...
He stuck his feet out, leaned back like he was going to slide, and stood right back up and fucking ran it the other way. Yeah. So, I mean...
I guess from a movement standpoint, it is dangerous, right? Because you're going from a stopping motion into a full... But
that happens in football all the time.
Yeah,
Change of direction is constant in football.
I mean...
that happens, that's the reason why they have so many ACL injuries is change of direction shit, and like non-contact knee injuries.
Yeah.
So just part of the game, like you're not going to stop a wide receiver from running a route or a running back from juking somebody.
Right. So why
somebody they didn't want to get beat got beat.
Yep.
It's the same thing as the 2013 Iron Bowl thing. Somebody that they felt like shouldn't have got beat, and they fucking had to change the rule.
So stupid.
It's fucking stupid.
Well, welcome to the Sip It and Rip It podcast, guys. That was a show before the show. We got some drinks.
Penelope bourbon.
Yeah, it was gifted to me by my brother, who it was gifted to by his mother-in-law. So shout out to both of them. It's pretty good.
Penelope 4-grain. As usual, it's an old-fashioned. This has just become the old-fashioned show. But here's the thing. We just make damn good old-fashions. So
yeah, and
every one we have is drinkable. So.
Yeah. We've only made one that was bad.
And that was recent. Which one was that?
That was the chocolate one.
The chocolate one was bad.
Chocolate one was bad. I don't remember any of the other ones. No. That was
but we're just fucking good at them, and they're like fucking 3-ingredient cocktails. So there's I feel like there's no reason to
be able to mess it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
just need a few things: simple syrup, whiskey of your choice, and bitters, whatever bitters you want. You got options.
Yeah, we went
there.
Orange. You could have gone aromatic on these. You probably wouldn't have gone chocolate on this one.
Chocolate would be weird.
Chocolate would have been weird because it's a hot bourbon. So it's a very traditional old fashioned.
Funny thing about that, we didn't even try it. We just you smelled it a little bit, and then we're like, we'll just throw this in there and see what happens.
I've drank enough whiskey to smell it. I'll know by smelling it. I'd be curious. One thing we haven't done, and a lot of it's because I don't really like Scotch and Irish whiskey. I would kind of be curious about. This is heresy to some people because most people drink those things straight or with a little bit of water in them. I would kind of be curious about like an oakier flavored, like a Scotch or an Irish whiskey, old fashioned.
I mean, I'd try it.
Called an old fashioned.
An odd fashion?
AULD.
Oh, AULD. Okay. Yeah. I thought you said odd, and I was like, I mean, I guess. But,
since it's Irish.
Since it's Irish.
AULD. OLD.
You can follow our socials at Nathan Skedios, at Coleman Barbell.
Yep.
And the podcast at Sip and Rip It.
And you can rate us 5 stars on
Spotify
or Apple Music or Apple Podcasts. I'm sorry.
Apple Podcasts, yeah.
Yep.
Maybe one day we'll get some people together and play some music, and we will say, "Hey, we have a song on Apple Music."
Maybe.
That'd be really hard to do.
We need to talk to your cousin about some bumper music for real.
Yeah. I don't know how. I mean, he'd probably do it just like off the cuff. Probably wouldn't take him too long to do like a 15-second little thing.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty fun, but just one of those things.
It'll be this kind of the next step in making us like seem really pro.
Right.
We need some bumper music.
It does seem like everybody except Mark Bell has bumper music.
Yep.
At least in the fitness space that I've listened to. Yep. Actually, just about every podcast I listen to except for Mark Bell has. bumper music.
Fucking Real AF podcast has Young Dolph and Keep Lock, and it's like fucking.
It's like 30 seconds long.
It's fucking epic though. It's fucking like when you know when that song comes on, like who's gonna be talking and shit, and it's fucking cool.
RP has one for their podcast.
Yep. I don't think we're big enough to get like a known name metal band or rapper to do our bumper music, but it'd be fucking cool.
I wonder if we could because I've actually talked to the guys with Shiva. I wonder if they would be like, pay us a little bit. We'll do you like a 20-second clip or something. That'd be pretty dope because they're awesome. I love Shiva.
It would be. I'm thinking bigger.
Well,
the people that we probably wouldn't answer our email.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely not answering our DMs.
Right. But
I'm becoming nut about Kubla Khan.
Yeah. They would be pretty good too. They're very hardcore. So
fuck.
They probably make
some
stomping.
Yeah. It'd
be fun.
It's so boneheaded and stupid. But that band's still so good. It's so tight, but it's all like real fucking like elementary, like music wise, but fuck, it's good.
Well, since
the things that crank your tractor when you start getting old, like, I don't care if it's technical anymore. I just want it to be good.
Right. I've been that way for a little bit, but I do like both sides of it. Really, I like something that just like makes me want to punch a wall, and also things that are like very technically sound and interesting to listen to. So, but since we're on the topic of music,
let's do it, baby.
Let's see. ER songs. I'll go ahead and start since it looks like you're looking. Hopefully this hasn't been put in there before because I put on a lot of Carnifex, but Torn in Two by Carnifex off their most recent album. That song kicks ass. I love it.
Hell yeah. Just looking at this. Okay, I'll go a funny one real quick.
Oh boy.
Shimmy Shimmy Ya by Old Dirty Bastard. There we go. Return to the 36 Chambers. If y'all didn't know, I'm obsessed with Wu-Tang, and ODB was a member of Wu-Tang. So that's my first entry, and it's fucking stupid, and it's awesome. I love old rap so much.
That's fair. I'll put one more in with Austrian Death Machines, No Pain, No Gain. That's
it feels appropriate.
It's very fucking gym metal music. And the music video is hilarious because they're just like in a meat market and they're buying different meats and stuff. And they're just pushing around a grocery cart and throwing like steaks and chicken and stuff in a grocery cart. And I'm like, this is what it's about. It's it's, if you don't know who Austrian Death Machine is, it's Tim Lambesis from As I Lay Dying and
the alleged wife killer.
Yeah. We just don't talk about that anymore. He's repented of his sins. It's all okay now. All right.
I'll go. Are you done with that one? Or?
Oh yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I'll go with a new band to me. They've probably been around a while, but I'll go with Waco Jesus by the Callous Dow Boys.
The Callous Dow Boys.
They're fucking good, dude.
I feel like I've heard that name.
It's kind of a little bit. I do think their name's really funny. I like a pun.
Yeah,
a whole lot. I feel like it feels like early 2000s, like
death metal, metalcore,
like metalcore, like post-hardcore, like almost feels like a little bit more like metalcore leaning, like Under Oath or like Norma Jean or something like that from back in the day. Actually, the comparison I had was like early He Is Legend, but a little bit heavier.
Okay, I don't think I've ever listened to He Is Legend.
He Is Legend is one of my favorite bands. You absolutely should, but they definitely turned into all their stuff has like this dark feeling about it. Like there's just like it all is just super eerie, regardless of what album you listen to. But they definitely kind of went from being like that post-hardcore metalcore sound to like being a little bit more just like not generic. Southern rock, but probably Southern metal.
Okay,
it all feels very Southern at a certain point, but it's all like kind of witchy and voodoo inspired and stuff like that. It's really fucking cool. There's some badass songs.
So not like Pantera Southern.
Absolutely that Southern, and sometimes absolutely that heavy, but in a much different way.
Okay.
It's in a like all I can tell you is it's just all kind of witchy sounding. Like it's kind of spooky. I don't know.
I'll have to check it out. That sounds interesting.
I have some heavy recommendations for you if you want to.
Yeah.
Now it is a lot of clean singing compared to what we normally listen to. Right. So you might not.
I can get behind it sometimes.
Like he has a very, very aggressive voice, so it's not like it's just like pitch perfect. Just
yeah.
beautiful singing all the time.
Right.
Like, he has a very, very, very much a voice for rock and metal, but you should listen to him anyway.
I'll definitely check him out.
Hello.
If it came through. Sometimes the mic's really good about blocking all that stuff out.
There were dogs barking, in case y'all wondered.
Dogs barking all the time. Dogs barking, babies crying. That's
our lives now.
Yeah. Both of us, yeah. It's pretty much it.
Our lives now.
And for the next probably 18 years or so.
Yeah. As long as I don't fuck up again. We're trying to try not to reset that clock.
Right. Yeah. So there are options out there.
I have a very, very sweet and beautiful and happy baby, though, so I can't be super, super proud of her. So.
Oh yeah, I love my little girl. She's so funny. She laughs and smiles at the dumbest things.
Fatherhood's different in a way that other people just couldn't describe to me, to be honest with you. I don't feel like anybody that I've ever talked to that's a dad or a parent currently really described it accurately.
How you feel about it. Yeah, because it's
kind of hard to put into words.
I think it's different for everybody too. People think about things differently and approach things differently, and
I don't know. It's been a good thing.
No, yeah, it's definitely a positive thing.
Yeah.
I was talking to Lance about vasectomies.
Oh, we're talking about our vegan meathead?
Yeah.
That Lance? Okay.
Yeah. So that was fun. He told me his story. Did he tell you his story?
I have never heard his vasectomy story. I don't know. Should we air it? I don't know.
I mean, it's not. I mean, I'm sure we've said
Lance, we're talking about your balls.
I mean,
the whole segment about Lance's balls.
Well, I was talking to him about it because it's something I've considered for a while, and it's like, well, she's on birth control right now, so it's not like necessarily an immediate thing I need to do. He was just like, don't take too long. You never know when a birth control can fail, stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And he was talking about his experience, and I've just never heard a good experience involved, like, of a
nuts are getting
vasectomy.
chopped on, dude.
Right. But he told me that I think he said when they went in for the second one,
the second vasectomy? Or the second baby?
The second testicle.
Oh, the second testicle.
The second,
okay.
Like something about the anesthetic or whatever didn't work, or it didn't take. So he felt all of it. And I was like, no. It was just like he was sweating, trying not to throw up the entire time. And I was like, that sounds like the worst thing you could possibly imagine ever. Just like feeling somebody going in there and cutting up on your balls.
Man, I've done a lot of gear, and I have small shit anyway, so there's some like stage fright for me.
Right? You just like, I can't work on this.
It's honestly like a fucking medical miracle that we were able to conceive. The amount of PEDs I was on when we made that baby, I should have been sterile.
Well, they do say that it doesn't make you sterile; it just lessens the amount that you produce.
Well, I got some strong fucking swimmers when I'm on.
I'm saying, dude.
And I do have an absolute fucking unit of a baby.
Right.
She was basically 10 pounds at her 2-week doctor visit.
Yeah.
So. And they lose weight.
Yeah.
She lost from 9.5 down to 9.1, and then we measured at 9.14 the other day. So
it's a big baby.
It's a big fucking girl, dude. Fucking Trembolone.
Trim baby.
She's already holding her head up too, so she's
That's impressive. She's going to be strong. That's going to be fun. As long as she's not like, just like, I don't care about.
I did expose her to music for the first time.
Yeah.
I told you that, but I did, may occasionally play back at the church that I used to be on staff at, just to put her around music some more, because I'm not doing anything creatively, and I'm not playing cover gigs. So, and I'm not sure a cover gig's exactly where I want my kids. So
yeah, that's fair.
A church is probably a little bit more friendly of an environment for
that sort of
for a baby. Yeah. Oh,
that instance. No, we haven't talked about the gym yet.
Yeah, we got to talk about
the gym this week. What happened for you? Anything good?
Yeah, I thought it was a positive week. Nathan's program in my off season. I had very specific goals in mind, and I think we're doing a pretty good job of attacking them. Hardest workout was probably. I feel like it was probably my front squat workout, just because front squats suck. But I think it went relatively well. I don't have anything to report on that.
I'm also a bastard and make you do tempos.
Yeah, tempo front squats suck. I asked for front squats, so there's, I'm just as big of a bastard as you are. I told you that in the DMs. But I do feel like they're making me better, and it definitely increases my work capacity and how I perceive a back squat, especially post injury, because the back squat's so much more comfortable.
Yeah.
So I think that's been productive. Overhead press was not that's my main push movement right now, not bench press. Overhead press did not go like I wanted it to, but it's also because I was better rested, better fed. And on my arm day prior, I had chest, arms, and shoulders. 2 workouts prior to my designated shoulder day, and I was able, because I was fed and rested a little bit better, I was able to go so much harder on my tricep movements that by the time I turned around to do my shoulder day, I had no press and power in my triceps. So I actually regressed my shoulder strength this week, but I think for a good reason. It was productive. As productive arm days, and anybody that's ever done, you don't really feel it so much on low volume shoulder days, but on high volume shoulder days, your triceps absolutely will give out. Yeah. So if they're pre-fatigued like mine were, it does make for a hard pressing day. Yeah. And I'm not a bad overhead presser. It's just, sets of 12, even with a plate, it gets pretty spicy, and it just is what it is. Deadlift day is not a joke because of the volume, but the weight is not slowing me down. The breathing is a little bit. So, that was a productive day. And then my last leg day was yesterday. Squats were really good. I just had a whole bunch of quad work. I'm just not very good at lunges right now, so that was a little bit of a pain. But that's also still weakness in the hips, so that's going to get better. But yeah, super, super productive week, and really, considering everything was to a tempo, it was, it wasn't outstanding weight, but it was a strong week for me. So
yeah, and that's one of the things that I really focus on with tempo is what it does is obviously time under tension, right? But you're reinforcing your form, especially with lighter weight at a slow tempo. You're just reinforcing good technique.
Sure.
So over the course of a period of time, when you go back to lifting something heavy, it's going to be like your body's just going to naturally do what you're supposed to do.
I don't have a super... It is challenging, don't get me wrong. I don't have a super fast descent anyway, so a 3-count tempo is not as... You can tell reps like 5 through 8 that it sucks. Yeah. But, up until that point, it really feels about like a normal squat set until it really, that time under tension starts really creeping up on me. As I believe in squat fast, fail fast. I believe in a slow descent. And, yeah, it's been productive. And to be honest, it's the most consistently I've hit heavy weight with heavy volume, even since before Ron. So I think that we're in good shape. Maybe competing next year. We don't know yet.
We'll see. It's all going to depend on your work day. That's what it boils down to. And then, at least at the one we've been talking about after that, which we won't talk about it, but like after that, there are the other opportunities to go compete. But the one we're talking about is just going to depend on your work day and kind of where you land at and how you're feeling.
Talking about that, and it's just an extension of the gym talk. I am going to have a very busy day at Ultimate Warrior. That's the day I'm thinking about coming back for. I have the opportunity to go compete at regionals, but honestly, I'm thinking, because I'm so far off, especially not bench press and deadlift wise, I feel like, honest to God, prep, I can compete with anybody right now on those two. I really think I'm going to have a 400 plus pound press sooner than later. Yeah. And I think I don't know that I'll deadlift 700, but I'm going to get nearer that vicinity than I have been this time too. But because my squat is so much further behind my peers, I'm thinking about, honest to God, competing the SPF at 259, because that was kind of the goal I had in mind for myself after Ron anyway. And it's a lot shorter, a lot more fun day than...
Yeah, my day was pretty short. I don't know if you got to watch any of the live stream.
It was, but that's not the trend.
No.
For a USPA or WRPF meet, or definitely not a USAPL meet. Yeah. They're typically a little bit more long-winded. I think just a rinky-dink redneck SPF meet just to go put a total together would be fun for me.
Yeah. It'd be good. It'd reinforce, because I know you, a lot of times, both times when you came back and you didn't didn't put together a real total, you were like, I don't feel like a real power lifter. But being able to just actually, go through, get all your squats and deadlift more than whatever.
Listen, I can go total a very easy 1,200 pounds and PR my my platform total by 200. So I mean, injuries suck, but I really the only goal this next time is to go the distance. I mean, 1,500's in the back of my head, and I think I could do it. And I don't think it'd be too much of I don't think it's too much of a stretch, but realistically, I kind of just want to
just get a real total, like
a
just
real total,
real posted total. Going 3 for 3 on squats, I think, would be the most important thing that you.
And I might have to go 365, 405, and 445 to get there, but.
Just going 3 for 3 on squats is going to make a big difference.
Yeah. And it's not going to be that lot.
No,
we joke, but I could definitely see opening low 400s and these, and ending high 4s, low 5s.
Yeah. It'll just depend on how prep goes, how you're feeling the day of. We'll just kind of have to make.
I'll tell you what I'll do too. Next time I feel bad on my first or second attempt, I'm just going to fucking waive the rest of it and move on.
Yeah. If you don't go
if I go fucking one, if I have to go 1 for 1 just to go bench press and deadlift, I will fucking do it next time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You've learned your lesson.
I've learned my lesson. I'm not fucking with it no more. So
my gym week I'm gonna keep pretty short because nothing really special happened. I had a sinus infection maybe on Friday. Didn't feel great. My head felt like it was, like when you put a pizza roll in the oven too long and it starts to leak out. Kind of felt like that. It was just like
lots of pressure and a little leaky.
Yeah. So I actually didn't even go to work that day. I just felt really bad. So I was like, I'm just going to skip. And yesterday, still feeling a little bit under, didn't feel like going. And today I didn't go just because I had so much going on that I just didn't have time for it. I still don't feel like 100%. So I'm just like, it's not the most important day. It's my overhead press day with a little bit of extra, I think, back and something else. So I was like, I can afford to miss this and not feel like I didn't have a productive week. Still did better on all of my barbell movements for the week. I've been struggling with squats. Swapping to high bar has seemed to help keep my lower back a little less in pain, which I still don't really know what's going on there. I'm not really sure why I'm feeling pain in my lower back, but we'll see what happens.
You're 30 now. You may be getting old like me and have some arthritis back there.
Yeah, for real.
But the good thing about it being arthritis is it's pain if it is arthritis, it's pain you can actually fight through.
Yeah.
If you're willing. If you're willing to.
It's hard. Like it does get I've noticed it's the volume that affects it the most.
If it's not achy away from the gym, it's probably not arthritis.
Yeah, it's not. You know what I mean? It heals by the time I'm doing my next movement. Like if I start doing leg extensions by halfway through or the end, it's already gone.
Yeah.
So it's something in the moment. It's some irritation that's happening.
Sure.
I have had a problem with butt wink in the past. It feels like it's gone mostly away, but I still feel pain at high volume with heavier weight. That makes sense.
Back squats it shouldn't be the most stressful in your lower back, but it is stressful in your lower back.
And it may just be weakness. That's one thing I've talked about, not on here, but
talked about adding reverse hoppers.
So just any sort of lower back movements to help build some, I guess, strength in there, just to keep it from hurting.
Sure.
Because if I can get through an off season with no pain in my lower back, I'm winning. That's all I want right now.
Sure.
Also, I'm completely there might be something left in my system, but I'm completely drug free right now. So recovery is harder. So it may just be that it's just getting the shit beat out of it. And it's not keeping up recovery wise. But either way, it was a good week because everything went not necessarily according to plan, but it's going in a positive direction. So, and I'm not losing any more weight. I think I've lost all the weight that I'm going to lose. I'm at 240 right now. I was up to 243, I think, post meet, and I haven't gained any more since. And that's my ultimate goal, is to get to 260 and then cut down. So I think we'll be there once we get back on TRT and stuff like that. I'll start seeing some weight gain and add a little more food because I'll probably be able to eat a little more. Probably going, my hunger will go up because my hunger is very off and on right now. But I'm also eating like when Joe Sullivan was coaching me. So I'm eating tons of rice, not tons of meat, like 7 ounces of meat with my meals and cereal.
Yeah.
Except my breakfast is what I want now. My breakfast is full eggs and turkey bacon, and
it tastes good.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like ideal as far as taste goes. I'm not like throwing a bunch of butter and cheese and like a bunch of like regular bacon and stuff
added
like that.
Fat. It's just stuff that has fat in it.
There's a little bit of butter because my fat is extremely low on this diet. It's just like just enough to keep the pan from sticking, basically.
Right.
But yeah, hopefully that all goes well, and then get up to 260, cut down to 230. Do that a couple times, try and get a really lean, like 245, 250. That's the goal at the end of it.
I think you can do it.
Because I think I cut 13 pounds in water weight for my meat. So I have that at around that much to play with. So
sure,
255, 258 is roughly my walking around weight.
Makes sense.
That'll be fun. So I talked a lot, but
that's okay. I did too.
The topic of the day is kind of interesting because we talked about it a little bit talking in the show before the show, talking about Briani and all the stuff going on with people and accusations, but just in general, talking about like the people of powerlifting, like the trend that it's going through. Because I made a bunch of stories on like...
Yeah, you had your own rant about this a little bit.
Yeah, it was like on Thursday or Wednesday or something. But yeah, it like when I started powerlifting, and this is what I said on my story if you didn't watch it, I started powerlifting mostly because of the time period. I was in a very like dark mindset and I needed something to focus on. But the people, like you came up to me and said, "Hey, you should start powerlifting. You should join the powerlifting team." And I was like, "I know shit about powerlifting." He's like, "You squat, bench, and deadlift." And I'm like, "Okay, I mean, I do that, yeah. So sure, why not?" I didn't squat much, but I
changed that fast.
I did technically squat, yeah, occasionally, but it was more about just like, and I joined. It was just a Facebook group, like, and it was very low pressure, and everyone was just like, "Hell yeah, let's see you succeed" and stuff like that. And it was just really cool, very positive, and I really just enjoyed the experience of being around that sort of environment, especially then because I needed it really bad. Like I didn't have a lot of positives in my life at that point. There were positives, there just weren't many. Right. And it was surrounded by a lot of negative emotions. So moving forward with the sport, as anything grows bigger, any community grows bigger, there's always going to be outliers and people that come in that aren't looking for people to succeed and that aren't, trying to uplift everyone and make the sport better. It's people are dragging other people down, arguing, fighting, like starting shit for no reason. And it's been really disappointing to see the way, and even locally, like that's what gets me, like at a grant, like powerlifting at large, like I get that. Like there's going to be a handful of people.
Well, not to mention because the sport's grown, not only do we have other competitors to deal with, we don't, but professional powerlifters now have fans to deal with, and people that are fans of people that aren't them to deal with.
And it's becoming this like I don't know if I said this. It's becoming like Alabama Auburn. Yeah, like it's not just about like competition and like friendly competition. It's hateful. It's like you should die because you beat my person.
Yeah, it's honestly to some extent transcended that. It's almost like Republican versus Democrat.
Yeah, I mean it's bad.
Right, to the point that you won't even listen to an old head because they train conjugate or something, or something like that. You know what I mean?
But a lot of people use conjugate back in the day, and it may not be like the best method, but they might know something that you don't. And you training conjugate for a short period of time might do you some good.
It did me. I don't think it's my preferred method of training.
Right.
You can learn a lot from that shit, though. I mean, absolutely you can. You can learn a lot from anybody. And I don't think. I think this is kind of a segue into Briani and Joe's situation. you can learn something from anywhere in fitness and in powerlifting at large. And I even use, not to the extent that Joe does, but I use things that I learned in sports training, that I learned in CrossFit, that I learned in bodybuilding, that I learned like across a whole fucking plethora of sports that aren't powerlifting that I use in powerlifting program, probably to a much more minimum degree than somebody like Joe does. But like those things have influenced me like 100%. Like I don't actively use conjugate, but conjugate did influence the way I view certain things. You know what I mean? Definitely like accessory work. You know what I mean? Like, you know, conjugate prescription is 20% competition lifts and 80% of your work is done in accessories. And I didn't know that that's what it was then, but that's basically a power building approach. Yeah. You know what I mean? And one thing that it does for me being older now is it keeps me healthy to not be on the barbell all the time. Like it keeps me in a state that I can continue to power lift because I'm not fucking
destroying your joints,
killing myself all
like
the time.
Your CNS.
And I have a big juggernaut background where it's the opposite, where 50-60% of your volume is on the barbell and then, you know, very little away from it. And I have learned that just doesn't work for me getting older. I was older when I started than my peers. It just doesn't fucking work for me to kill myself on the barbell day in, day out. I love it. I love squatting. I could squat every day and be happy. I really could. But it's not the best for me performance wise or growth wise. And that's very individual. And you have to learn that. You have to learn your clients because they have their own individual needs and shortcomings and strengths and everything else that you have to accommodate as a coach. And you just don't get that if you're a my way or the highway type dude. You cannot service your athletes properly if you're just fucking stubborn about everything you do and your methods and everything else. Yeah. You have to be willing to learn. As a coach, you have to be more coachable than your clients. I mean, you really do. You have to be malleable. You have to be willing to learn more, and you have to be willing to expand your ideas and horizons and how you approach things. All that to say this, we mentioned it before, it seems like there's a little hate for Joe and his group of people because they do things quite a bit different, and you know this better than anybody. His programming does not look like mine. Mine has Juggernaut sprinkled all in it. His programming does not look like mine. No, you know that. I'm sure you've ran. I think in the very, very beginning, you ran I used to keep a bootleg of Shaco. You've done Russian programming before. Yeah. You've probably even with me had a sprinkle of conjugate in your programming and stuff before. But you know what traditional powerlifting programs look like versus what Joe's look like, and it's not the same.
No. It's very much different, and I don't think he really has any like secret chokehold on anything. He's pretty free with his information, but it's like you have the days where you're a power lifter and you have the days where you're an athlete.
Yeah,
like
and you have the days even still you're just a bodybuilder. Yeah, well, I shouldn't say just a bodybuilder, but that's the goal. Yeah, that day. You know?
Yeah, it's like you get a pump, you go home. There's spots where you need to train for athletic performance. You know, and most of the athletic performance is kind of sprinkled in throughout. Like a lot of it is just like your warm up is preparing athleticism. Yeah. And then you go in and you do whatever your powerlifting, your bodybuilding, whatever the goal is. One thing that he has mentioned recently that you have been talking about for a long time is muscle mass. Like mass moves mass, but muscle mass moves mass. Yeah. So the more muscle mass you have on your frame is better. So in theory, we should be training like bodybuilders on our off season and putting on as much muscle mass as possible to be able to move the weight more efficiently.
Absolutely.
Like that is the end goal.
And I actually credit my thought toward that was actually when I started thinking about that was actually because of a Joe Sullivan post where he had posted in his stories, you know, you can type text into a story and not necessarily be a picture. He had top text roughly what you should weigh based on as a powerlifter, what weight class you should be as a powerlifter versus how tall you are. Yeah. And me being 6'2", he said my ideal body weight, or the post said, he didn't necessarily say that's where I had to be, but for me to be a professional, I would ideally want to be a 308 or a super heavyweight because I'm tall. that wasn't an excuse to be fat. What he was saying was basically what his post said is you need to maximize your frame not only within your weight class, but also within your height, like within reason.
Yeah. And
still maintain some type of athletic prowess and healthy blood work so you're not going to fucking die at a young age. So I say that to say all this. His main goal was the heavier you are, but the leaner you are within your weight class, the more successful you're going to be in powerlifting. Yeah. And you've heard me theorize that I think that a sweet spot for us as powerlifters or strength athletes got to be true of strongmen too. It's got to be true of Olympic weightlifters because they have so much fast twitch muscle in their frame. I really believe to see an elite and then later a professional total that 50% of your mass should be made up of skeletal muscle mass. I've theorized that, and there's no science that says it's true or anything like that. But if you just look at somebody like Joe, who is now too big to fit into 242 by his own, or 220 by his own admission, because he walks around at 250, it's harder and harder for him to cut because his muscle mass is so great. He has maximized his frame. Another great example, everybody talks about, I'm not mad at him for it, but you know, I'm scratching my head all the time wondering when somebody's going to beat John Hack. Yeah. Well, John Hack's a 198 that has 100%, if you've seen him without his shirt on, has maximized. Yeah. Maybe the symmetry isn't there, but in terms of body composition, he could walk on a stage after his powerlifting cut. Yeah. Like, symmetry is probably not there because he's a powerlifter. He doesn't prioritize balance, I'm sure, you know, or visible balance. Yeah. But like, in terms of actual composition, he could walk on a bodybuilding stage. Like, if he walked up to any like amateur show, he would probably win. An amateur, yeah, absolutely. He's not winning his pro card. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he's Bumstead or anything. No. But like, the dude looks good. Yeah. He's as big as you can be inside of 198. Absolutely. And I think that there's something to that, and why, you know, we've got so stuck on mass moves mass in powerlifting, but truly the actual thing you need is muscle mass moves mass. Mass moves mass, sure. You're going to probably be stronger, heavier in general than you are lighter in general. That being said, muscle mass is still stronger than fat mass. And you're still going to move more weight, more muscle mass than you are. I've said this about myself. A good example of this is me and Austin, the same weight class. I actually scanned higher than him this past time, but that's before he started TRT or whatever. I scan higher skeletal muscle mass. That being said, it's obvious when you see me and Austin stand side by side who has more muscle in their frame. It's awesome. Well, there's no wonder Austin's a better powerlifter than I am, because he is closer. Neither one of us have done this. He is closer to maxing out a 275-pound frame than I am. Right. It's not a fucking big secret. He looks fitter at 275 than I do at 275. He's stronger. Like, it's not like that. Lets me know that it may just be practical and it may just be speculation, but like, we know that more muscle mass moves more mass, period. Mass moves mass. Yes, that's scientific, but the type of mass absolutely fucking matters. Yeah. And I think we just have to roll back a little bit to, like, we had a conversation about dots. Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, the best lifter is the lightest lifter who moves the most weight, right? According to the DOTS calculations. So, like, the lighter you are, the better for you to win overall. Yeah, absolutely. So, like, if your goal is like they don't say, oh, well, you have to have a 15, 16, 1700 pound total. They say you have to have a certain DOTS score to get into nationals and so on. So at the end of the day, you want to be leaner to get a better DOT score to win. That's overall. The reason why I think that if somebody beats John, they're going to be lighter. It's not going to necessarily be one of Joe's athletes, although I could absolutely see that happening. But it's going to be somebody that has adopted this philosophy of, I'm going to be as lean and as muscular as I can inside of my weight class, because that's what John's done. Yeah. And the only thing I said it was unfair that he is in a place now that he can total almost 150 pounds more than he does currently at 198 and lose DOTS points at 220. Yep. And that is unfair. That's the skew of DOTS, whatever. But by and large, that if you don't think that if he moved up to 220 tomorrow, he's going to walk around the 240s. Yeah, absolutely. Easily. Like, because he knows this, because that's how he's winning. Yeah. He's robbing everybody blind of all the fucking pot money. And sometimes he did have the best squat day of his career this last time.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes he's not even having the best lifting days of his career, and he's still robbing everybody blind. Like, you have, like, the proof is in the pudding. Like, you're seeing people, like, somebody like Dan Griggs is going to ultimately, it may not be Dan, but somebody like Dan is ultimately going to break Dan Bell's all-time record at 2 weight classes smaller because of the same reason.
Yeah.
Dan's incredible. Dan Grigsby is incredibly well built for a 275-pound athlete. There's not a lot of fat on that guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's starting to maximize his frame. He's had better meets at 242, and maybe that's why, I don't know, maybe because he's more maximized at 242, maybe that's the reason he does a little bit better. But because being heavier does mess up your deadlift leverages.
Yeah. And that's half of his total.
Definitely helps to be heavier on bench press and squat, but it does not necessarily help to be heavier on deadlift.
Yeah.
So
you do have to kind of like learn your leverages again, especially if you
it's like relearning the movement.
Yeah.
100%.
When you're fluctuating in weight that much, like he was doing, going, because I think he usually competes in 275, dropped down to 242 for that one meet, went back up to 275. So in that transition period, and he may be over 275 and then coming back down, it just messes with how you approach the bar.
But I mean, if you want to see, Dan Bell's record may stand for a very, very long time, but the person that beats it is going to be somebody, whether it's a super heavyweight or not, is going to be somebody that has maximized. He's kind of an old head now because he's not involved in powerlifting, but Larry Wills is somebody I've talked to a lot, and it's not necessarily that I'm the biggest Larry Wills fan. As a person, I honestly, he kind of gets on my nerves as a talking head. You know what I mean? He may be the greatest person ever in person. I don't know.
Right.
But just as a social media icon, he's a little grating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I said, he may be the greatest guy on the planet. I don't know. But that's a guy that held records at one time simultaneously at 220, 242, and 275, and then went on at a light 275 to beat Eric Lillibridge's 308 record. Or rather, a lot 308 at like 286 pounds. He beat that. Well, Larry also, about the time he did that, he also got, won his first bodybuilding show. Yeah. This is somebody that was, he was 286 pounds, but he was also sub 10% body fat when he did it. It's not necessarily the sub 10% body fat that won it for him, but it was absolutely the fact that, he was a 275-pound athlete with, 150 pounds of muscle on his frame. Right. Or better.
Probably better,
probably
honestly.
Better,
He's
so
big, lean.
Incredibly well-built athlete. And I know Larry's been really open about his drugs, and people can point to that all he wants to. But at the height of his powerlifting career, he's openly said it was 750 grams of test and an oral. Yeah. So, I mean, that's not really too far-fetched even for, like, a local bodybuilder. Yeah. Like, that's not, like, a lot of drugs, not comparatively speaking. So, like, you can say what you want to about Larry, but he's a really good example of the John Hack thing of every time he moved up a weight class, he maximized that weight class.
Yeah, and just talking about the bodybuilders, powerlifters, dual athlete thing, most of the athletes that were in the women's raft where Brianni got her deadlift were dual athletes, like Hunter Henderson. Yeah. Brianni. There were 2 more. There was an older lady. I can't remember her name. I can't remember. She was an older, I think she was either submasters or masters who did really well. She was also a bodybuilder. And there was one other one I can't think of. But that to say, these were people at the American Pro doing really well, who were dual athletes. So I mean,
Hunter's a bodybuilder. She's amazing. She's one of the best. She's got to be one of the best squatters, if not the best squatter, pound for pound on the planet. It's amazing to watch her squat. I mean, she's a great deadlifter and great bench presser too. But it's amazing to watch her squat. Yeah. Dual sport athlete, like you said, for a woman, she has maximized. Her and Brianni both have maximized their weight class and their muscle inside their. CC Ingram back in the day, before she quit and moved to just bodybuilding the same way, she was visibly more muscular than every other 181 you saw. Yeah. You knew, you could tell by looking at her she was going to fucking win. As light as Steffi Cohen was, she was like a 123 and a 132. I think it's the 2 classes she competed in. She was visibly more muscular than any other small girl you've ever seen before in your life. I mean, so you even talk about women, like maximizing the weight class is where it's at. And what sucks as a power lifter, It was like, we want to be bigger, we want to be stronger. It really sucks to take that temporary hit, and you discovered this your last cut. You cut to 200 pounds.
Yeah.
It sucks as a powerlifter to take that 30-pound hit and eat shit for 6 months and be weaker than you've ever been to ultimately be stronger. But that's actually what it takes.
I wouldn't say it's 6 months, but
we know in the time that,
yeah, whatever your time period is, typically I think a cut cycle is like 12 weeks.
Yeah, sure. But, I mean, and that's still, that's 3 still. And
yeah,
then
it's still a lot.
You probably have to spend 3 more getting strength back before you reap the reward of doing that. But those recomps are like what we need. And I've said it before, gone is the day of the fat powerlifter winning everything. There's a reason why super heavyweights aren't taking home these Dotch trophies.
Yeah.
They're not winning the pot. They're not competing.
You know what I mean? I mean, they're competing their weight class.
In their weight class, but they're not competing overall. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's a lot to consider. All that to get back to the original topic was with Brianni and Joe. There's some hate for them because they do things different. And supposedly they've been accused of cheating their weigh-ins, or Brianni's weigh-ins, I shouldn't say theirs. When clearly in the rule book it states that you can schedule a private weigh-in as long as it's 24 hours before you lift, or in the 24-hour period before the lifting day. It doesn't have to be a perfect 24-hour separation. It just has to happen. If you lift on Saturday, it has to happen on Friday.
Yeah.
They know the rules. It says it in the WRPF book. Joe's posted it. You can look it up yourself. If the meet director is willing to meet you for a private weigh-in, that is 100% within the rules in the WRPF. Not speaking for USPA, not speaking for the USAPL, SPF, or anything like that. But in the WRPF, if you can get a private weigh-in, that is 100% okay. She got a private weigh-in, and now the internet is accusing her of having cheated. And to cut and dry, not to make the conversation short, she didn't cheat.
Yeah. Now, there is some talk, and this is something that she posted. A lot of people had like videoed weigh-ins. I think it was videoed by WRPF. Hers was not, and that's one of the reasons why they're accusing her of cheating.
She said she weighed in the nude.
Yeah.
She's not going to post a nude video of herself on fucking...
And obviously, you're not going to let someone in the WRPF come in there with a camera and film you in the naked weighing in like that.
Because then if you do that, then you're in the USPA situation of that's sexual harassment.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, unless they explicitly say on camera before they get naked, yes, this is okay. I mean, that's a huge liability for any company. They're not going to fucking weigh you if you have to get naked.
Yeah.
And you're within your rights as an athlete to get naked for weigh-ins.
Yeah, absolutely.
You do not have to have clothes on for weigh-ins. So, I mean, she had to strip down for weigh-ins. She made weight. At a private weigh-in, it didn't get videoed. It didn't get videoed for good reason because it's a liability concern. And then she proceeded to whoop everybody's ass. And the long and short of it is, people are pissed because she whooped everybody's ass.
Yeah, and it's one of the things I believe is that it's because they do things differently, and there's a lot of people who just don't like them. And for whatever reason, I really
don't understand that because he takes so much time out of his day to take care of the little guy in powerlifting.
Yeah.
And she does too.
Yeah, not only giving away free information, answering questions that people submit. Like even before I started training with him, he answered a few of my questions. Joe specifically is willing to help people. Like that's what he wants to do. Like me and him have had some back and forth, about certain things, and
that's allowed. When you're paying somebody, you're allowed to have serious conversations with somebody that you're paying service for.
And I was in a very bad place mentally, and I feel bad about a lot of the things not a lot, but the things that were said in that period of time, I feel bad about them, and I've apologized to him about it. And I was like, hey, I'm sorry, I was an asshole, I shouldn't have done that. And I still have just a bunch of respect for him after everything's said and done, because he followed through with a lot of the stuff that he said he was going to do, even though sometimes I was a little like, I don't know if he's actually just trying to fuck me over for more money. Like I was a little concerned about that at one point, but he followed through everything he said, and I've got nothing bad to say about him. He's a good dude. He just wants to help people. I feel like Mariani's very much the same. She's a little more aggressive, and that may just be her, and that may be something from the bodybuilding mentality. Like, because I kind of understand that to an extent when she's with her clients, because even Joe has told me she's a little rougher around the edges than he is.
Yeah.
And I get that, because once you've gotten to a certain way, like when I was eating like Joe told me to, it was kind of like I had this transition of just like, why isn't every athlete eating like this? Like, it just makes sense. I can do it. Anybody can do it.
Right.
Like it's not fun. Like, you're not eating for enjoyment. You're eating for athleticism.
Yeah.
And it kind of like takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you do the same thing over and over and over again for just a month, it just becomes this like, well, this is just what I do. Like, habit forming is what, like 2 weeks?
Yeah.
So realistically, if you do that for 2 weeks, if you eat this horrible diet, it's not horrible, but it's just like monotonous.
Yeah.
Like, you eat the same things almost every meal, if not every meal. Eventually, it's just like, this is just what I do.
Yeah.
Like, when I took that week diet break, and I just kind of ate whatever I wanted, I didn't feel great. I kind of felt like, I mean, this was fun and all, but I'm ready to get back to my chicken and rice. Like, that's how I felt. And I did. I'm back to my chicken and rice. I'm doing like 93.7 beef with rice, cereal with no fat milk, protein shakes. The only thing that's really changed is my breakfast, which is like eggs and turkey bacon.
You're
and
off
toast.
season right now.
Yeah.
The fat's not going to kill you right now. Like,
and I'm still not eating a lot of fat.
Yeah.
I'm like 80 grams of fat a day.
Yeah.
Maybe, I think it's 60 to 80.
You got kind of a window.
Yeah. So I typically everything is planned out, but some, like, especially on weekends, I'm kind of just like, I just need to get my protein in, and that's my goal. And as long as I eat my calories, protein and calories on the weekend, everything else is like, because I train Monday through Friday. So my training has to, or my diet has to look like it's around my training. But like, it's just one of those things. It's a mentality. And as a coach, it's like, I'm giving you this. This is what you need to do. I know this is what you need to do. And people don't accept that, and you just kind of get frustrated. So I understand her being that way, and just because you have that mindset of like, you just need to do this. Like,
you're paying me, shut the fuck up. Do it. Like,
just do this. Like, it's.
I agree.
But
well, I think their problem. I think part of the issue that they're having is, I do feel like there's a little in the coaching circles in powerlifting. There's a little bit of gatekeeping.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of an attitude of, this is what we do because this is the way we've always done it.
Mm-hmm. And when people start challenging that and breaking that mold.
People's idea of progressive powerlifting programming is, we're going to use RPE instead of percentage-based programming.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's great, but what is RPE at the end of the day?
Right.
It's still percentage-based programming.
Yeah.
You may give somebody a range, expect their RPE to be between 365 and 405, depending on the day. And if they feel like shit, sure, it's not going to be 405. But at the end of the day, they're still, operating largely in the same thing. That's not fucking progressive. That's not that's not a new idea. You're still going to program from an RPE 7 to, hopefully by the end of the block, work up to an RPE 9 or 10. Like, it's still a linear idea. Like, it's still not, you're not fucking it's not groundbreaking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same idea. I mean, you look at Conjugate and they have daily 3-rep maxes. Well, your daily 3-rep max on your fucking Spoto press might be weaker on week 2 than it was on week 1, depending on, circumstances. That's RPE. That's auto regulation. Like, auto regulation is not a new or progressive thing in powerlifting, regardless of how you want to fucking dress it.
Yeah.
You can say, oh, I'm a smart guy, I'm fucking programming RPE now. Like, it's
cool.
You're not that far off of fucking percentages.
Yeah.
Especially like me, I like a hard number, and I still give my athletes hard numbers. Well, they're based off of a percentage that has some margin of error in it. Like, they're not all time. I'm not programming off of an all time best they've ever done 1-rep max most of the time. I have those numbers, and I start my program and kind of reverse engineer things from that. But when I say 60%, most of the time it's 60% of 90%. And this as the further you get down the road, especially as a male powerlifter, and you total, I would say, if you're lighter weight, if you total 1,200 plus, if you're a little heavier weight, when you total about 1,400 plus, 90% is fleeting. Like, 90% is a number you could miss on any given day, even if you feel good. Like, it's not always because of fatigue and diet and all these outside stresses and everything like that. 90% is not always going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So if 90% is not always going to be there, then 100% sure as shit's not always going to be there. Fuck, 90% of your deadlift right now is 600 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
You learned in prep that it's, you know, I know you can pull 660, but you learned in prep that you might not always be able to pull 600.
Sometimes you can't pull close to
you
that.
Can't pull, you know what I mean? It is what it is, but that's the reason why, like, fuck, you can auto-regulate in a million different ways. Yeah, I give hard numbers, not RPE. Fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's still a margin of error still planned for, and still like, it's not auto-regulated, but still regulated, if that makes sense. Like, these things aren't new. What Joe does is he trains people like an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's almost like sports training, like you're training somebody for football, like you're training. The ultimate end goal is to be a better powerlifter. You're a powerlifter still in it, but he is bringing some outside ideas that aren't traditional powerlifting, but they're very much traditional to sports training.
Yeah,
if I was going to prep a kid for football, it would look a lot like what Joe does for powerlifters. I do that professionally. I prep kids for football. You know what I mean? Like, it looks a lot, that their programming looks a lot more like Joe's programming than my powerlifters look like Joe's programming. He's not reinventing the wheel. He is bringing something to the table that just says, you know what, these guys, maybe he looked at this and said, you know what, these Division I and professional athletes are really fucking strong. Maybe there's something to multimodality training. And I'm not talking about CrossFit when I say multimodality training, but maybe there's something to adapting somebody to a certain cardiovascular capacity before you put them, you know, under a, you know, 10 rep set of an RPE 8. You know what I mean? Maybe there's something to learning to manipulate energy systems and inputs and outputs, like we talked about with him, like when you use caffeine, when you don't, when you use ammonia, when you don't, when you use loud music and when you don't. Like, maybe there's something to all that. And it's because there is. And we've been doing that with athletes for a long time, and we just haven't done it with powerlifting until he's done it.
Yep.
So,
and it's interesting though, like you would think people would rally around this idea, seeing the results and seeing the success and being like, wow, this is crazy. This guy has come in and made the sport better, made the athletes better at the sport. We should like embrace this and make our athletes better. But instead they're like, fuck you, Joe.
He's an outstanding coach, and I'm not taking anything away from him when I say this, but as good as his athletes are, they're not winning every meet.
Right.
So, like, it's not like he has this, like, I do think his athletes have an edge because of his mindset and the way that they're prepped and the things that he's doing. I think he's training in the year 3000 and we're training in the year 1900 right now. I mean, I really do think he's ahead in a lot of ways. That being said, it's not such a glaring difference that they're going out and just beating the shit out of everybody every time. His male athletes aren't beating John Hack.
Right.
They might one day. I'm not saying they won't.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're not always setting world records. They're not always winning lifter of the day or what have you, but they're fucking really competitive and they're always up there. So it's not even like the hate is 100% warranted, but it's not like this like Alabama effect where everybody's pissed off at him because all he does is win all the time. Like, it's literally just because it's different.
Yeah.
That's
there's a word
it,
for that.
You know
Isn't
what I
there?
mean?
Isn't that there's a word for that, right? Isn't that bigotry?
It's a little bit,
is?
yeah. I use the word gatekeeping.
Yeah.
People were upset because it's not
the
a
normal
linear juggernaut program, or it's not conjugate. It's not, you know, a traditional periodized. It's still periodized, but it's not a traditional like strength training regimen.
I'd be interested to know how everybody reacted to conjugate when it first came out. Like, how were people like, oh, this
They were probably pissed off because they were beating I mean, at the time, you know, Louis lifted raw, but at the time, you know, they were beating the fuck out of everybody.
Yeah.
You know, in multiply and single ply stuff, I mean, there was a reason why they still think they're the best powerlifting gym on the planet. And I don't think that's true anymore. But they definitely did things different. And Louis, till the day he died, did things different. I mean, and I've been critical of conjugate, but everybody's got some negative shit to say about Westside now.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like I've actually regressed on how much negative shit I have to say about them, because I actually think there's a lot of fucking good value in a lot of things they did.
Right.
But it's like fucking trendy as a powerlifting coach to be like, fuck conjugate. Conjugate doesn't make sense. Well, it made sense for a long fucking time, and a lot of people made a lot of people winners.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe Joe's the new Louis in a very different sense than Louis.
Right.
Like, he's not the same character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, by no means, but maybe he might be that guy. I think that he's probably, him and Jake are probably the one spearheading a new idea about
how to approach powerlifting.
Yeah. And we've seen his programming now. There are things that, not pretending to know more than him, because I definitely don't. There are things that me and you have been critical of and wondered about. Frequency being one of them.
Yeah.
But it did not work. It worked.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I had a PR on everything. I won the day. I didn't hit exactly my goals, but I got most of them and close to all of them. So it's hard to say it didn't work when I went out and I squatted, 21 pounds more than my best ever, and I squatted my best ever before that in prep with him. I bench pressed 1 pound off my best ever with him, or 4 pounds, excuse me. And then I pressed 15 more pounds, and I had a lot more in the tank than I realized.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, 17 more
pounds than your best prep.
And then my deadlift, which was terrible the whole prep, I deadlifted
660, right?
660, so that would be
5 pounds better. Right, you had 655 at
655 was best, about 5 pounds better in my best ever, but it was 80 more pounds or 75 more pounds than what I did in prep.
Yeah.
So it worked.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what he did worked. And even though I was very skeptical going in,
it worked. And it works for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it works for Brianni.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's probably directly coached by Jake, I imagine, but same philosophy got them there. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's curious. I do think a lot of their hate's rooted in that. And I think the basis of this conversation, this is a big circle back around and away from gatekeepers. Yeah. This is kind of away from gatekeepers and powerlifting and more so toward the thing. Joe's smart enough to know the rule book. Brianni's smart enough to know the rule book. Jake was smart enough to know the rule book. If you have a problem, your problem should not be with Brianni taking advantage of the rules. Your problem should be with the rule book itself.
Yeah.
If you have a problem with what happened, it's not Brianni's fault. It's not Joe's fault. It's not Jake's fault. You should take it up with the WRPF and say, this is something we find to be unfair. Mm-hmm. This needs to be changed. Mm-hmm. Because she didn't cheat.
Right.
Say all you want to. No cheating was done.
Yep.
Period. That's like I said, that's cutting that conversation a little bit short, but no speculation needed. It says it in the rules. If you have a problem with it, you should know your rule book better, and you should take it up with the governing body and not with an athlete. It's not the athlete's fault she took advantage of a rule that is clearly stated.
Right, and it's not necessarily taking advantage, like we've said before. Pushing it off only makes it harder to rehydrate and refeed. The only thing is she got a little extra time to get down to weight. Cut. Yeah.
But that recomp matters more than the cut does.
It does.
If she would have missed weight, she would have still had to recomp.
Yeah.
That would have still had to have happened. Mm-hmm. She was still down where she walks around at. Probably 10 or 15 pounds, whatever it may be. Like, she still had to go get an IV, chug a bunch of Gatorade, eat as much as she could before that morning. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
they don't do Gatorade, sir.
Well,
Gatorade is.
I know they don't, but they still put down their electrolytes. They still put down plenty of fluids, all the food that they needed. Like, all that stuff still had to happen, and they had to happen in less time.
Yep.
And if she would have missed weight, she still would have had to do that too. And you know what? If she would have missed weight, she probably still would have won.
Yeah. Still would have gotten.
I don't look at the record. I didn't look at the records. The record above her weight class. I would say that the likelihood of her breaking that one was probably pretty good too.
Yeah.
So
I imagine it was from what I remember prior to this one lady, like a week later in a strongman event, deadlifting 700, it was the strongest deadlift by a female. Now, it may have just been the strongest deadlift by a female in powerlifting, but they said it as the strongest deadlift.
Let me present another situation right here, too. If I don't believe Joe or Brianni ever had any intentions of cheating, first of all. So let's just take that out. Not Joe, not Brianni's intention of cheating. If they show up at their scheduled time, and maybe she was half pound over or whatever, half kilogram, whatever you want to measure it in, and a WRPF official said, don't worry about it, you're close enough, that is no longer Joe and Brianni's problem.
Yep.
If they got the all clear from a WRPF official, I mean, I think this is the only way there was any mishappening, in my opinion. I don't think Joe and Brianni cheated. If they got the all clear from WRPF official, then it's still a WRPF problem and not a Joe and Brianni problem. Yeah. They should have said, "Too bad, so sad. You're competing another weight class up." They, if the official said, "Oh well, close enough," that's not a Joe and Brianni problem. You can be up in arms about it, be as pissed off as you want to about it, but as a WRPF has swindled that weight class problem. Yeah, it's not Joe and Brianni's problem. So. But in terms of the actual weigh-in itself and how it was conducted, when it was conducted and stuff like that, all within the rules. Yep. If they got some type of fucking grace from a WRPF official, then it is still not their fucking problem. Yep. It's the WRPF's problem.
At the end of the day, all these things that we're saying it's not their fault. Like, they did not cheat.
Yeah, like I said, if you have an issue with anything, take it up with the WRPF. Yep. I mean, the powerlifting community is much, much smaller than it looks. Like, enough people speak up about it and email the WRPF and say this rule is bullshit, they will look at it. Yep. They may not change it, but they'll look at it and they'll probably look at it seriously. But it is, again, it's not a Joe and Brianni or Jake problem. It's not. If that happens to one of my athletes and they get, I'll be honest with you, it happened to me at an SPF meet. I was competing at 159, weighed in at 260. Jesse says, close enough. Yeah, you can take your hoodie off, kick your shoes off, and you'll be under it. We ain't worried about that. No 1 pound, 259. Yeah. Wave it off. If that happens, that's not the athlete's fault. Yeah. Period.
Yeah. The athlete is just going in there and weighing in. And
I wasn't competing for world records. Yeah. But that happened. You know what I mean? I could have stripped down and probably made weight. Truly. But like, I got on the scale, shoes, a hoodie on, gym shorts on, singlet under everything, and I was a pound over. Well, they didn't take the time to reweigh me. Right. That would have been the fair thing to do. They waved it off and said, close enough. Yeah. You know, at that point, that's the problem. That's a problem with the organization. So take it or leave it.
Yep. And just kind of bringing this back to a smaller level and just talking about like people and toxicity and stuff. Just like locally, I felt like locally, it didn't really exist. I felt like it was at scale, like a larger problem. Like you didn't see it so much, like in your state. It was more of just like people spread about, you know. Yeah. But the fact that it's local is what gets me. That this toxicity is local, and I just don't understand that. Especially like when you think about all the, like what we really want. We've only got. Like what, Juwan and Ron?
Juwan, Ron, and I honestly think I would include Eugene Perry in that conversation. Yeah. Because, I mean, Eugene, he may have not done anything yet, but if you follow that guy's prep, if you've seen him compete, that guy absolutely is 100% capable of world-class total.
Yeah. So
we have 3, Perseus before he retired. Yeah. If Oldham was going to do it, he would have done it by now. No offense to him. I think the guy's probably great. But you have those 3
currently competing
that are real threats to national and world, records. You know what I mean?
So we got 3 people that are at this level. Why are we fighting with each other instead of trying to reach that level that they're at?
Yeah.
Why aren't we trying?
They're best them. Not to say that they can. I wouldn't. I don't think I'm ever going to best them. But like. Those are 3 men that would be happy to see you do it. Yeah. They're not going to root against you. Those are 3 good men. They're real fucking good dudes. The only thing they're going to do is slap you on the ass and say, "Attaboy," like,
Right.
we're proud of you, whatever, you know what I mean? But the state, I don't know, maybe it's an Alabama thing because Alabama we're not underrepresented because we're participating in the sport, right? The fact is, we have 3 athletes, male athletes. We're not including, there's some very good women here. We're not including the women. We have 3 athletes. California has a fucking 100.
Right.
Ohio has 100. The state of New York probably has 50. Texas probably has 200. That will kick your absolute fucking teeth in. And we have 3. Like, as a state, we're behind. Let's face it. So there's not a whole lot of room, in my opinion. You have 3 guys representing the entire fucking state for us. I mean, that's there's not a whole lot of room for any of us to talk shit because unless you're Ron, Eugene, or Jawan, you really ain't swinging a big enough dick to open your mouth.
Yeah,
you're really not. I mean, and we should all be rooting for them because they are hometown heroes. But we should also doing our best to try to keep up with try to level the playing field with the rest of these guys. I do think Alabama being a little bit behind. We're a state that's it's a very, very big football and baseball state. And I think a lot of our big athletes are still chasing other things that aren't powerlifting.
Right.
To be completely honest. But, we're not in a position we should all be trying to get better together because we're not represented on the national stage like other states are.
Yeah.
I can name, just off the top of my head, amazing athletes out of California. Just like I probably can't name them all, but where we just named 3 here, I could probably name 50 in California.
Right.
Off the top of my head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're not, it's still, we're kind of still babies in the world of powerlifting. How many guys in Alabama total 2,000 pounds outside of Jawan?
I don't know.
Perseus did it when he was still doing it. Like, I don't think Oldham does.
I don't know.
Eugene could and Ron could. I don't think they have yet. Like, we're talking about there's people in this nation they're working on 2,500.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not to cut those guys down because they're obviously Jawan's small and they're fucking incredible athletes. But like, we're really not in a position as a group of people
to be like picking on each other and
throwing. or to the point that like picking on people to the point that it's almost discouraging and that people don't want to do it anymore. Like promising athletes, like we have, I shouldn't say because you don't do my program anymore, but I have, probably 2 or 3 of you in my general circle that have a real 2K potential now. Like, we don't need to discourage y'all from attempting to reach that. You know what I mean? Like, for the state of Alabama and the status of powerlifting in the state, we need more people like y'all to continue and to not give up. Like, we don't need to be talking people out of it. There's some young guns that I know a younger generation don't have the same mindset that we do. They still think it's fun to talk shit. And I think I've said it before. I think some of that stuff's good for powerlifting. Not to the point that it's just fucking discouraging though.
Right.
I think you should be able to look at another man and say, I'm going to whoop your ass today. But I don't know that I never want to beat somebody at their worst. I want to beat somebody at their best.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want, I want you to be as good as you can be when I beat you and vice versa. That should be the expectation. And if, we're also small enough, represented little enough that if somebody does beat you, you should be rooting for them to go compete on a national level and maybe at a world level. Because they're representing us as a whole.
Yeah.
I mean, they are. Like,
you shouldn't just.
It would be. I'm not ever going to be in their weight class, but I'd be honored to have my ass kicked by Jawan Garrison.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it'd be fun to compete in the same weight class and the same
platform stage,
just to shake the man's hand and say good job. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a whole lot of reason. And I know there's, you're comparing totals. Like, there's other 275s and 308s that I would, probably compete more directly with. I can think of a couple off the top of my head. I would love to beat them, and I would love to beat them badly. I don't want them to quit.
Right.
I don't think that they're bad people. I don't think there's anything wrong with their training philosophy. I don't want them to get hurt. I don't want, like I said, them to quit powerlifting or to be so discouraged that they don't want to do it anymore. I don't really want to talk shit to them. On game day, yeah, I want to beat the fuck out of them. You know what I mean? But like, maybe in the instance that they can rally and the next time they push me a little bit more, maybe they beat the fuck out of me. I don't know. But that's how you get better, and that's healthy. I don't want to be toxic about it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I think
Like,
that's the key. There's nothing wrong with competition, but toxic competition.
Everybody's training philosophy is going to be different because it's very individual, based on not only based on your coach's philosophy, but on based on what's new to you. You can shit on people all you want to, but what works for Nathan doesn't work for me, doesn't work for the next person down the line. Some people are just going to do shit different. There's not a whole lot of reason to gatekeep. I mean, you know, in terms of you young guns, if you don't like getting your teeth kicked in by, if you're 20 and don't like getting your teeth kicked in by a 30-year-old, fucking train harder.
Or smarter.
Or smarter. Or eat better. Or
learn more.
Or get a better coach, or
go outside your realm and
maybe talk to the guy. Maybe if you're 20, talk to the 30-year-old that just kicked your teeth in and ask them how they got there.
Right.
More than likely, it's keeping their fucking mouth shut and training and grinding it out, and you know, doing what's required of you. You know what I mean? There's not a whole lot of reason to be that way. Do I want to be the best team in Alabama? Yeah, I want that for my athletes. I want that for myself. Do I want to be the best I can be? Yeah. But none of that means shit if everybody else in the state gives up. And it doesn't mean shit if my peers are hurt. It doesn't mean shit if powerlifting as a whole in the state of Alabama isn't growing. I mean, I think based on the turnout at some of these lifts, the USPA thing has really turned a lot of people off because, you know, just a year ago, your meet that you just competed in was maxed out.
I don't know if it was maxed out, but there was at least 40 or 50.
Day.
40 or 50.
It was still a full day. Yeah. You know, Joey just competed in one in Tennessee that was 10 or 15 lifters too. Like, there looks like there's like some drop off. I don't know if that's why.
It could also be there's just a lot to choose from now.
There is. There's more options now in terms of federations. I think it's a newer federation that also not just compete UPSC.
I think, or UPC or something like that. It was something like that.
United States Powerlifting Coalition or some shit like
USPC.
that. Like, yeah. Like, there's more options and stuff, but like, it doesn't serve you to take time out of your day to dump on somebody else. I will tell you this too. There are plenty of us and plenty of lifters better than me, but I am like this. Some of us got into this for our own hate of self and how little we appreciate and respect ourselves. Some of us are very, very negatively motivated, and you should probably shut the fuck up. I mean, honest to God, there are better lifters, much better than me, that are negatively motivated too. But I'm definitely somebody. Tell me I fucking can't, and I absolutely fucking will. Like, I will die trying. One or the other. That is 100%. You want to motivate me? Tell me I fucking won't. Like, and there's people that are plenty enough better than me that absolutely will kick your ass the moment you say, right, you'll fuck around and you will absolutely fucking find out. Like, you just need to stay in your lane and just fucking train. Yeah.
At the end of the day, I guess my whole thing is, and this is the way I approach every meet, I'm not there. And truthfully, like, I'm not there when I compete. I'm not there to necessarily make friends or like be like the nice guy to everybody. I'm there focused. I'm doing my thing. But
you're not going out of your way to be an asshole.
No, I'm not. I'm going to help people loading and unloading. I'm going to help people like spotting. I'm going to, like, if someone comes to me and asks me a question, I'm going to do my best to answer it.
You got 10 people on a damn combo rack trying to get warmed up for their flight. Me and you experienced it last year, same meet. We had people back there that didn't want to fucking help people load up for warm-ups. So I'm one coach. Like, I'm not fucking loading every side for every fucking lifter. Yep. Like, not to say that I won't help everybody. I'll absolutely do that. But like, if you're back there and you're not being handled, that's one less. I don't need the asshole that's not willing to warm up with everybody else and help out and stuff like that. Like, that's part of powerlifting. Yeah. Like,
community.
You want to fucking sulk and sit in a corner because you don't like the guy you're lifting against and you don't want to have to warm up with him? Too fucking bad, dude. Like,
if you got two racks, go to the next one over, but like, that's all you got. And if the
Most
one
of the
rack,
time, the best situation in these local meets, we have 3 warm-up racks.
yeah,
Absolute best.
I've never been to one that had 3.
Exactly. Most of them have 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Like, dude, just help out. Get your head out of your ass and just like fucking throw a plate on there. Like, you're all in the same weight class. It's going to be similar. If you're in the same flight, weights are similar. Like, jump in there, fucking warm up. Like, get your head out of your butt. You know what I mean? Like, I've dealt with that more than I would like.
Yeah. And it's just
like,
unfortunate that people have that attitude.
I've said it before, but more often than not, and we did have a case of somebody pretty decent talking shit recently. More often than not, though, attitudes like that come from beneath you and not from at your level or above you.
Yeah.
Very seldom is somebody as good as you or better than you going to shit on you and your day and your method of training and stuff like that. It just doesn't serve them to go out of their way if they total 1,800 pounds to talk down to somebody that totals 15.
Yeah. It's always just somebody who's not as good as you, who wants to come up and like throw you off your game. Like
this guy totals 14, you total 15. Like, this guy is just going to be an asshole to be an asshole. Like, he went over to the fucking flight list and saw you were opening up with fucking 20 more kilograms than him. He's got his fucking panties in a wad. Like, thought it was going to be an easy day. Like, sometimes you have to fight to win. I don't know what to fucking tell you. Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to sound like an old man, but it does seem like a younger generation is more guilty of this than our generation.
It kind of does. Now that's not to say there aren't outliers in everything.
While I think he's funny sometimes, and I have laughed at him, and I think he's one of the best powerlifters on the planet right now. Like, you have characters like Derek Thistlewaite, who's an awesome powerlifter, and he's coached by one of the greatest coaches on the planet. He's one of the greatest lifters on the planet, but you have these like internet personalities. I don't believe he's actually a bad guy. I believe that he's an internet personality now. He's playing it up, but you have these people that are like rubbing off like probably negatively on a generation that lives on the internet. And they think their dick's getting fucking hard because they think they can be that guy.
Yeah.
Like,
problem is they can't.
Like, well, he's that guy because he squats 870, deadlifts 900, and presses 500. Like,
does jiu-jitsu and has like a gun collection.
He's a fucking animal. You know what I mean? Chances of you being like him are slim to none. I'm glad you're good. You're probably not going to be that great. Like you don't have to adopt his. And that's somebody that I have defended. You know, he grates on you eventually. That's somebody I've defended because largely I think entertainment wise, it's almost like watching wrestling or something. I think that he's kind of good for powerlifting in that regard.
That heel personality.
I've been a fan before. You know what I mean? Less so now, but like, you know.
I think when it got to a point where it was personal things, it wasn't just like in a general sense he was talking about stuff or he wasn't calling specific people out. But when he started specifically attacking other people is when it kind of went too far.
I do think, and this is an egotistical statement to some extent. I do think that we have targets on our backs, being from a smaller town, a smaller talent pool, less equipment, and we're going and winning. I think that we are starting, and I say we as a whole, as a team. And again, I know you're not coached by me anymore, but you think about like you and Austin and people that are, and some of my girls that get some of this heat. I think people are a little bit annoyed that the fucking rednecks from Coleman, Alabama are going and kicking their fucking teeth in. I mean, I really do think that that's some of it. But again, you're still not getting that from people that matter in the sport.
Right.
Like, Ron don't care that we're doing good.
Yeah.
Well, he's probably happy for us.
He's probably just you know what I mean? Back there fist bumping.
You know, other coaches around the state aren't upset that we're doing good, but I do think that there's probably some individuals that
just don't like
us. You know, it's fine. Like, we have to train on commercial gym equipment. You know what I mean? We're getting our first deadlift bar this week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We pull on stiff bars all the time. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm so excited.
We got shit like that happening, dude. Like, we don't lift on calibrated plates. We don't even have competition collars.
Yep.
We don't have a combo rack.
Don't have kilo plates.
We're
dumb rednecks who can't count in kilos.
We're pretty well literally lifting on pig iron all the time. Yep. One plate may weigh 43 pounds. The next plate might weigh 47. Like, I mean, and we're going and we're winning. We're not winning regularly at a national level yet, although I do have a world champion now. but we're going, and we're at least, at the very least, we're a thorn in people's side, and we're making people think about us. And I do think that's probably the reason for some heat too.
Yeah.
For us.
I think so too. It's fun. It's fun. I think it boils down to, like, we don't have the best stuff. We don't have the
best facilities. We don't have
there's a lot of stuff that we could get better if we had, but we have what I believe to be a rock solid foundation, a good philosophy around training, around diet, good community that wants to, like, everyone to push to be harder. Like me and Austin, like, back always, like,
talking shit, but it's healthy.
Right. When we talk shit, it's usually like, you know, like I say straps on all of his deadlift videos that he pulls in straps, because I'm like, fuck your straps, lift with your bare hands. But, you know, even though I'm teasing him a little bit with that,
he still goes and pulls meets, you know.
It don't matter. He's going to out pull me at the next meet. He's going to out squat me. He might out bench me in the next meet. And I told him, I was like, you need to go out there. If you're going in the 242s, you need to go break all my records.
Yeah.
And set the, you know,
set the tone. Yeah.
Yeah. No, like set the squat, set the total, like, go out there and beat all my records, so I have something to aim for.
He would fuck that squat record up in 242.
Yeah, he would. I'd be.
He's gonna rap though. I don't know if you.
Oh, he is gonna rap.
He's been rapping in practice and stuff. So
I saw he was rapping. I didn't know if he was gonna stay in raps.
I think I have this month. I think, well, not this month, but this block. I think I have the heaviest triple of his powerlifting career program. So,
that'll be fun.
I think he has a triple at like 590 or 600 or something like that. So.
Now, I don't even know if it's going to drop to 242, but that's the kind of, like,
you do it, like,
that's the relationship that we share, is like even though we talk a little bit of shit, like in the DMs,
give me a reason to step it up.
Yeah, in the DMs, we're always like patting each other on the back, like, man, you're killing it, you're doing great. I mean, he has spread all these, I'm going to call them rumors about me, all over the garage, just like how I'm the powerlifting god of Alabama. I'm like, I'm not. I'm barely, like, intermediate. Like, I'm okay at it, but, like, I've got a lot of work to do. I got a lot to go.
Me and you got to have a squat before we can talk too much shit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
that, or our deadlift and bench are going to have to be astronomical.
Something's going to have to happen, but we ain't there yet.
Right.
Regardless. But, I mean, I don't know. I do think, I know I have some opinions about it, but I mean, I'm always just happy to see everybody. There's a team in Alabama that grates on me more than other teams do. But everybody in that team that I've met and know personally are great fucking people.
Right.
Like,
and that's usually how it is.
I mean, it's, you know, they're loud, they're boisterous. They're real fucking proud of each other. And honestly, some of it may just be that some of that I want for my own team. Like, they're fucking happy to see each other compete. And I have not necessarily dumped on them, but I've had some opinions about them before in the past. But everybody I know on an individual basis they're fucking great people and great athletes. I mean, I'm happy from an individual standpoint that they're doing so well, and it's they are fun to watch. For some of it, I think it's good for powerlifting.
Yeah.
You know, do they chat my ass sometimes? Yeah, but like it's a good thing. It's okay. It's healthy. I don't wish harm on them. You know what I mean? Like,
and see, here's the thing. Like, even if it's kind of like, man, you know, I don't like these guys, or for whatever reason, you can still respect the work they did. You can still be respectful to them. Like, you don't have to go out there and talk shit to them. You can just be like, you know, I don't really like you, but you did great. Like,
yeah, I mean,
and you don't have to say it, but, you know, just like have that mutual respect, human decency.
The coach isn't super approachable, but if he was a little bit more approachable, and maybe I just need to know him better, I would like to know what he does. I think it's a symptom of a talent pool.
Right.
I'm dealing with a bunch of crackers that lift hay bales on the weekends and, never been in the gym in their life most of the time. And I'm trying to turn them into something, and they have real athletes in those bigger metropolitan areas. But, I'm sure that there's plenty for me to learn from him. I can't think of too many people that I haven't learned something from. Yep. Even if somebody is a worse coach than me or a newer athlete than me or anything like that, music was the same way. If you'll shut up and listen, you can learn something from anybody.
Yeah.
Like, it might not be just super profound and super like groundbreaking or anything like that, but if you'll shut up and listen, you can learn something from anybody that you're willing to listen to.
Yeah. Sometimes
it may be what not to do.
Yeah.
But knowledge is knowledge. You know what I mean? Regardless of what it may be.
Something may just be as simple as just an experience they had that makes you think about something else.
You can look at somebody and say, hey, they train this way. Maybe that's not the way we should train.
Right.
And that's still, you know, if you've gained knowledge, that's still a positive thing.
Yeah.
They may be really great at something and have, you know, a certain accessory that they really believe in that's jump their bench press up. Maybe you need to know about it.
Yeah.
Like, you can learn something from anybody, man. I mean, it is what it is. So there's no reason to be hateful or it is what it is. Another thing I'd like to say about some shit talking that happened on the internet is, I just want to remind the kids at home that drug tested does not mean what?
Drug free.
Drug tested does not mean drug free. So y'all bear that in mind.
Yeah, there's a lot. I feel like in Alabama specifically, there's a lot of that. I mean, it's probably in most places. Like, let's be honest, there's not a ton. Like the athletes that are approached by WADA all the time, probably. Like,
yeah, you know, like Jesus Olivares is not going to get around it more than likely. You know what I mean?
Heather Connor, Jessica Bettner.
They're not people that are going to get around it.
Yeah, because they're constantly being bothered by WADA.
Yeah, but you know, local, state levels.
Yeah,
you know, even some lower level national events, probably beatable.
Yeah,
I mean, it is what it is.
I think Joey was telling me that they didn't make you drug test for a state record. It was only the top 1%.
Yeah, it's the top 5% of the
5%.
Yeah,
I feel like he said 1%, but maybe it was 5%.
I think it's typically top 5, but you know, small meet like his, it was probably only 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is what it is. He was clean anyway, but
right.
I mean,
it didn't matter.
But
it is interesting that they were just like, oh, we don't care if you broke the state record or not. You don't have to.
I had one fail and was banned from.
Yeah.
So, in that particular federation, me and him both got banned.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. That was
something.
It was shouldn't have been shocking to me, but at the time it was. So that's all I gotta say.
Well,
but I mean, all I gotta say is piss on that federation anyway. I ain't fucking.
Yeah, they're not worth not worth shit anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. But
bring it all back together, or bring it all back around. Just to summarize, just don't be a dick.
Yeah, don't. There's just not a lot of space for it.
Just be nice. I mean, like,
you also don't know what an individual is going through away from powerlifting and why they started powerlifting. I mean, me and Nathan both started powerlifting to keep from eating a bullet.
Yep.
You know, we don't really. While we're better than that now, you know, a new lifter, you know, depending on why they got into it or what they're looking for out of it or something like that, they don't really need to hear a lot of negativity because you might be doing serious damage to somebody that's already seriously damaged.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
very true.
You know, just the human side of it is it healthy to tie your self-esteem to powerlifting? It absolutely is not. We did talk about that with Joe. We as people are more than powerlifters. That's not the only way we identify, but there's a good portion of us that got into it for self-esteem, mental health issues, stuff like that. I'm about half and half. Some days I'm in there for self-esteem and an ego boost, and other days I'm in there to come as close to killing myself as I possibly can without actually fucking dying. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so there's like, you know, you just have to be careful with people because there's people. I've been accused of being fragile before, emotionally. You can say what you want to about that, but there are people that are more fragile than me emotionally, and you know, you just don't know why people have started their health journey, and they may have landed on powerlifting because that's just the brand of fitness that they enjoy. Same way people might land on running 5Ks or doing CrossFit. It might just be what helps them get through the day. And
it could be their friends. Their friends are into it. They have a community that supports them. Like that could be all it is. Like
it could be really, really simple, and they could just think it's fun, and there's no ego or self-esteem attached to it. But you know, a lot of us, especially some of us that are overweight, like I've been my whole life, it is to rectify some mental health issues, you know, and stuff like that. So, you know, you just don't know why somebody starts a sport, and the negativity is more damaging to those of us who are more emotionally fragile than you probably realize.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a good end to that conversation. Just think about other people before you speak.
Yep.
That's all it takes. Dad jokes. That was a little heavy.
Yeah, dad jokes. I got one right off the cuff.
For it.
I bought a pair of shoes from a drug dealer. I don't know what he laced them with, but I've been tripping all day.
I saw that one recently. I probably saved that one because I was like, that's a really good one.
That was a good one.
What did the hat say to the scarf?
I read this one today, but I forgot. Now go ahead.
I'll hang around here, but you go on ahead. So dumb. My son asked if I was named after my dad. I said, of course I was. He was born many years before me. I keep on asking people what the lowest rank in the Army is, but every time I ask, they say it's private.
Damn it.
I'm going to try and find one more. That's the one you just told. Oh, this is a great one. I get in trouble if Desi hears this.
Uh-oh.
I got my wife a metal detector as a present, but she didn't like it, which is really strange because she always likes to dig things up from the past.
Oh.
That's the last one I'm going to say because I'm going to get in trouble.
Oh. Oh, well, that's the day then. You guys rate us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple, wherever you listen.
Mm-hmm.
Give us a follow at Coleman_Barbell and at Nathan Skedios, at Sip It and Rip It.
Sip it in.
And Rip It, yep.
Not and.
Redneck version, Sip It and Rip It. Just like I said it. And then YouTube, yep, if you want to watch us.
For whatever reason. We just kind of just stand here and look at each other.
We're both big, ugly, and hairy. You probably don't want to watch, to be honest with you. Although some of our jokes, maybe our facial expressions would provide some context.
Yeah, that's true.
To the heavy eye rolls we give each other.
Because everyone's like, damn, do they really think that's funny? It's like, and yes, but no.
What makes it funny is the fact that it's, in fact, not funny.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just that lame. The more not funny it is, the more it's like, ha!
It's like, yeah.
Heavy chuckle. All right, bye.
That's not right. That's not how you end it.
What do I say?
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Yeah, there you go.